Hey people, John B here from PhoneArena. You're watching our in-depth video comparison between the Apple iPad 2 and the HTC Jetstream. The Jetstream we recently reviewed just came out not too long ago. The biggest thing about it is that it does offer 4G Lte connectivity versus the 3G enabled iPad 2 only. It's priced at $850 outright for the 32GB 4G Lte version versus the $729.99 price point of the 32GB 3G version for the AT&T iPad 2 here. So we'll compare them both and see how they stack up against one another and see which might be the better tablet for you. Between the two tablets, they share a lot of commonalities with their designs. We do like the fact that both sport a metallic casing, which gives it a sense of durability, a good solid feel all around, but with the iPad 2, it's a brushed aluminum casing, feels a little bit more solid than the hollowness of the HTC Jetstream, but still pretty good. It's a little bit more weight with the Jetstream just because it's a little bit larger tablet overall. Of course, it packs the larger display at 10.1. versus the 9.7-inch display of the iPad 2. But the iPad 2, again, still wins when it comes to this thickness, a little bit more streamlined. Nothing really drastic with the overall footprint of both tablets with the design, but honestly, you still can't deny that the iPad 2 is still slightly better looking tablet between the two. Thankfully, both tablets feature crisp-looking displays. It really stands out with both tablets. iPad 2 has a 9.7-inch IPS display, while the HTC Jetstream has a larger 10.1-inch panel. Also has the higher resolution at 1280 by 768 versus the 1024 by 768 pixel resolution of the iPad 2. But honestly, as far as just details and clarity, they're both going to produce some really nice-looking visuals, crisp-looking text, and on top of that, very legible. Not going to have any issues with that area. In terms of color output, both are nice, but it's a little bit more bland looking with the HTC Jetstream. And you do tend to notice a little bit of this yellow tinge when you look at it at extreme angles. Overall, the brightness output also has to go to the iPad 2. We definitely like it, just because in outdoor conditions it just seems just a tad tiny bit brighter. We definitely prefer the dedicated power button on the iPad 2 just because it's a little bit more well-defined and it's not as easily activated compared to the HTC Jetstream. Meanwhile, we could say the same thing about the volume rockers of both tablets just because the Jetstream is just placed in an area where our palms rest and accidentally presses it a lot, whereas the iPad 2, it's placed more towards the back so it's less prone for accidental pressing. Towards the bottom of each tablet, you have the respective charging ports. You can charge them and also do data connectivity to the computer. But if you want to output high definition video, seeing that they don't have HDMI out ports, you got to purchase additional adapters to get that functionality. With front-facing cameras on board with both tablets, you have the functionality of doing video chat. With the iPad 2, it features a 0.3 megapixel camera, whereas the HTC Jetstream has a larger 1.3 megapixel one. In the rear, we find both their cameras. With the HTC Jetstream, it features a beefier 8 megapixel autofocus camera with dual LED flash, has the ability to shoot 1080p videos, whereas the iPad 2 has a less than 1 megapixel count camera in the back, but has only maximum shooting resolution of 720p. When it comes to speakers, the HTC Jetstream offers stereo support with its left and right speakers compared to the single one on the iPad 2. Obviously, you can't remove the batteries with both tablets, and you'll need to send them in order to get them replaced, but with the HTC Jetstream, the nice thing is the top panel removes, gain access to the SIM card slot, but even better is the fact that it offers a microSD card slot so you can increase its internal memory. To better illustrate the color production of each tablet, we're going to show you a few different images. On the left you have the iPad 2 samples, and on the right you have the HTC Jetstream. When it comes to just blacks, they're pretty deep, but with the iPad 2 it's a little bit just darker, just because at different angles you tend to see that grayish hue to the HTC Jetstream. The greens are nice on both, but a little bit distinct, a little bit deeper in tone with the iPad 2. Here's another set of images here. You can see the magentas and different colors. A little bit bland looking with the HTC Jetstream's production here. Another one here with just a lot of blues and purples, almost the same. Very difficult to make out which one has the better quality. Now here's a good one here with the purples. You can see that it's a little bit more vibrant looking with the iPad 2's IPS display. And again, more of the blacks, a little bit of a grayish tone to the blacks with the HTC Jetstream, but overall the color just seems to stand out with the iPad 2. By far the better looking display between the two. In terms of numbers, the HTC Jetstream has a faster processor just because it's newer. In fact, it features a dual-core 1.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon processor with 1 GB of RAM versus the dual-core 1 GHz Apple A5 processor with 512 MB of RAM on board the iPad 2. And as you can tell, even though the HTC Jetstream has a faster processor in terms of clock speed, you could tell the movements here, the home screen with the iPad 2 are significantly smoother looking. But then again, you have all the graphical elements of Sense, the 3D effects of the Honeycomb experience, so it does kind of add to the overall sluggishness. It's less prevalent in landscape, but you definitely notice a lot of the sluggishness with the portrait orientation here. We've gone over it many times in previous comparisons between an iPad 2 and also Honeycomb tablet, but with the iPad 2, the only advantage to it is, of course, just the simplistic layout of the interface. Very easy to learn, a very low learning curve, whereas the HTC Jetstream with the Android Honeycomb experience, a little bit more in-depth, a lot more personalization, obviously. Yeah, things like all the neat-looking widgets, very useful, just so that you don't have to go right into the applications. You could do everything directly from the home screen, and of course, a lot more functionality and 3D effects in play with it. Thanks to these HTC Sense experience, or core organizer apps with the Jetstream is by far a little bit more useful than the one on the iPad 2, just because they do refine a lot of things, such as the calendar here. With a month view, you have the full look of both, but of course you could tell with the Jetstream, it just adds both months coming up, which is very nice. Week view is kind of the same, nothing really too different about it, but it just seems overall that the HTC Jetstream is just a little bit better in that area. Also on top of that, things like the clock application, you get a lot of useful information such as the weather conditions, temperature, and even other functionality like the world clock, your alarms, your stopwatch, all in one place versus the iPad 2 where you have to get into a specific area for that. When it comes to email, the email experience, they're both going to be the same just because their layouts are very optimized for tablet use. In landscape, you have the two-panel interface so you can really see your inbox and also the content that you're looking at. And overall, they work the same and setup is pretty simple as well on both tablets. Of course, the biggest advantage to the HTC Jetstream is the fact that it is a 4G LTE enabled tablet, but unfortunately AT&T's network for that is not yet available, so we're just using it on Wi-Fi for now to compare the two. With the iPad 2, you can tell with its movements, whether it be pinch gestures or kinetic scrolling, a little bit more fluid and gracious in operation versus the Jetstream, which is a little bit choppier. But the other advantage with the Jetstream is the fact that it has flash support, so you get that desktop-like experience. There's nothing really fancy looking with either of the music player interfaces on both tablets. They're pretty conventional. There's no glitzy 3D effects with their presentation and whatnot. But as far as their audio quality, their speakers, they're both pretty much the same, even though the HTC Jetstream has two speakers, a left and right channel. They produce robust tones, very powerful, and they don't crackle at the loudest volume setting. Alright, so if you plan on doing any photos or taking photos with any of the tablets, you'd probably want to stick with the HTC Jetstream. By far, its 8 megapixel autofocus camera puts the single 1 megapixel count camera of the iPad 2 to shame. You could tell with this photo here exactly. You could tell the rich details of the flowers. You could see pretty much a lot of stuff versus the iPad 2. Pretty muddy looking, to tell you the truth. Show you some other samples here. It's another good representation. Color production looks to be almost the same on both, but just a lot more details with the HTC Jetstream. You just kind of get a lot of graininess to the results found with the iPad 2. At the same time, you could say the same thing about their high-definition video capture. By far, the HTC Jetstream's superior one here with its 1080p video recording versus 720p on the iPad 2. With the HTC Jetstream, there's a lot better looking visuals, smoother frame rate, 30 frames per second. Both have clear audio, surprisingly, but with the iPad 2, the details aren't there at all. It's pretty lacking in that area, and by far, you want to stick with the Jetstream on this one. So here's the thing about battery life on both tablets. They're pretty remarkably good versus some other tablets out there. In fact, in normal usage, we managed to get almost 2 days out of the single charge on both tablets. But it's worth noting that we strictly use it on Wi-Fi connection, seeing that we just disabled the 3G cellular connection on the HTC Jetstream. So pretty much on par to one another. We're happy with it, but we're curious to see how battery life stands up with 4G LTE connectivity with the HTC Jetstream. When you're the first to offer 4G LTE connectivity with AT&T, you know it's going to be an expensive price point. And that's probably the biggest issue with the HTC Jetstream, just because of the fact that it sports that $850 no contract price versus the comparable $729.99 price point of the 32GB 3G iPad 2 for AT&T. With the HTC Jetstream, it's by far the tablet to go to if you're shooting videos and photos. And on top of that, you have the added functionality of the HTC Scribe technology if you purchase the HTC Stylus Pen, and you have that support for 4G LTE connectivity down the road. Meanwhile, the iPad 2, by far the better looking tablet too, just solidly built all around, better display too. Fortunately, it doesn't do great in terms of multimedia with the photos and videos, but for people who want a simplistic and easy to learn tablet, definitely you want to stick with this one here. But it's definitely going to be your choice whether you really need that 4G LTE connectivity. Besides that, they both offer phenomenal battery life, so you know that they're going to be both more than equipped in handling your needs. So if you'd like to learn more about both tablets, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. Thanks for watching, guys.